Hello YouTube, I'm Tanner. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you an epic moment in storytelling by discussing basically just everything about it. I may do more of these, but that's not important. Today, we'll be covering Volume 3, Chapter 3 of RWBY, that is RWBY, the series made by the folks over at Roosterteeth. More specifically, we'll be taking a look at the introduction of the character Qrow Branwen. If you haven't seen Volume 3 for yourself, I highly suggest you do so, as Qrow is someone you're going to want to experience for yourself. Now, it should be noted that I love this series, and there is a lot they did right with this volume, but Qrow's introduction caught my attention specifically. When most people hear the words Qrow's introduction, they probably think of Winter versus Qrow, the first time we've seen two pro-huntsmen fight one another. And technically, that moment did introduce the character Winter as well, but closer examination reveals that Qrow is the #1 focus. Qrow's introduction has been a long time coming. He was mentioned as someone RWBY looks up to way back in Episode 1, and since then he's been spoken highly of and hinted at. Before Volume 3 began, the fans knew several things about him. He uses a scythe, he's apparently pretty good with it, he's affiliated with Ozpin in some way, and he's RWBY and Yang's uncle. Literally everyone speaks highly of him, amping up the fans to finally meet him. Then, when Volume 3 starts, Qrow gets his first bit of screen time. When he's first teased, he gives off a bit of a negative air, getting himself drunk and disliking two of the tournament fights that the fans just watched. This effectively lowers the audience's expectations, so when the next episode comes along, it's a pleasant surprise. Before Qrow shows up in Episode 3, however, the audience is introduced to Weiss's older sister, Winter. It becomes apparent quickly that she's, technically speaking, kind of a bitch. Her first impressions are meant to get the audience to dislike her, and they do so effectively. This sets her up as a stark contrast to Qrow. See what I did there? Then, Qrow arrives, destroying two of Winter's robotic guards and being generally hilarious. He stumbles around, being drunk and yelling at Winter, but as the confrontation continues, you begin to realize that the points he's bringing up make a lot of sense. It becomes clear that Winter, the character you were just trained to dislike, has a rivalry with Qrow, and the way she loses her temper should lead you to be rooting for him. Winter is there so you can hate her and appreciate that Qrow also hates her, and does so in a carefree manner. But since Winter isn't a character the writers want you to hate forever, her gentler and nicer side is revealed in the following episode through her interactions with Weiss. You see her behave as an actual decent older sister, and watching the way she behaves, it's easy to understand why Weiss acted the way she did in Volume 1. By the end of the interaction, you end up liking her. How did they even do that? But back to Episode 3 when you still hate her. The fight begins, and it becomes evident quickly that Qrow is a bit of a badass. The entire fight scene is fast, elegant, and epic, and has quite the amazing soundtrack playing in the background. The song fits the fight like a glove, and only makes you like Qrow even more. But it's by that point that you should have noticed something. Qrow is using a greatsword to face off against Winter. It has been noted more than once that he uses a scythe. However, if the audience has been taught anything about the world of Remnant, it's that almost every weapon can transform into something even cooler. This is teased in an amazing way at the very end of the fight. Let me just play the clip for you. Look at that. Right when the music gets intense, right when they're about to kill each other, right when Qrow's scythe is teased, the fight ends. This is an amazing tease that ultimately hits its climax in Episode 11 of the volume, when his awesome scythe is finally revealed. This is a genius move from the writers, and something I hope we see more of. Once the fight is over, Qrow reports to Ozpin and Ironwood. Despite being criticized for his action, he shrugs the occurrence off his shoulders, continuing to establish his no-shits-given nature. However, once Winter leaves, it becomes apparent that Ironwood and the rest have a lot of respect for him, setting him up not only as a badass who doesn't give a shit about anything, but also as someone involved in more than his own personal affairs. At this point, if you don't like Qrow at least a little, you're lying to yourself. One last thing I want to mention is his relationship with his nieces. RWBY talks to him briefly after the fight, and he is the definition of a cool uncle. Later, RWBY and Yang play video games with him, and he tells a funny story that further cements his personality. You can tell that Yang and RWBY look up to him a lot. Then, just before leaving, he gives them advice about being true huntresses, and you realize why he's considered a great teacher as well. To cap it all off, he quotes Monty Alm, the unfortunately deceased creator of the series, making longtime fans feel right at home.
You're gonna go far. But only if you keep learning. If you never stop moving forward.
Qrow is an amazing character, and the writers know it, so they carefully constructed a scenario that would set him up as the ultimate badass, hilarious, and respected role model, all while being drunk. I'd say that is pretty impressive, and will forever be one of the most memorable moments of the show. Thanks so much for watching. If for some reason this video gets views, feel free to comment what storytelling moment I should cover down below. If I decide to do another one of these, I might just use your idea. See ya.
He was drunk. He's always drunk.